married her for love. But if he had seen what she did the moment he left for work, he would have never walked down that aisle. Daniel Morris believed in fairy tales. Not the kind with glass slippers and talking animals, but the kind where love triumphed, loyalty stayed unshaken, and marriage was built on mutual respect. He had grown up watching his parents share everything, from their struggles to their laughter, and he dreamed of building something just as sacred. So, when he met Lena, soft-spoken, elegantly dressed, and seemingly nurturing, it felt like fate had placed his heart exactly where it belonged. They met through mutual friends at a wedding. Lena had this quiet elegance, an air of delicate helplessness that drew him in. She laughed softly, spoke gently, and seemed to value tradition, family, and home, everything Daniel desired in a life partner. Within months, they were married, and Daniel moved her into the modest yet well-maintained house he had inherited from his grandmother. He gave her full reign of the home, believing it was her kingdom now. And in his heart, he was grateful to have found someone who, like him, valued the sanctity of a simple, peaceful domestic life. The first few weeks felt like a dream. Lena would see him off with a kiss every morning, standing by the door in silk robes, her hair slightly tousled, and her eyes sleepy yet affectionate. When he returned, the house would smell faintly of scented candles and lavender, soft music played in the background, and dinner would be laid out with warm smiles. But soon that delicate balance started to shift, and Daniel, in his innocence, failed to see it. It began with subtle things. A pile of laundry sitting for days in the corner, dishes that seemed to linger longer in the sink. A strange mustiness in the living room curtains, which hadn't been drawn open in weeks. When he asked gently, Lena always had a ready explanation. She wasn't feeling well, her migraines were acting up, or she had been busy researching ideas for redecorating. Daniel, being the patient man he was, never doubted her. He chalked it up to the adjustment period. Marriage was new and people had their own pace. But the truth was far from his imagination. Lena wasn't struggling with housework. She was simply ignoring it. Once Daniel left for work, Lena would slump into the couch like it was her throne. Her mornings started with scrolling through Instagram reels and binge-watching soap operas. Breakfast was either leftover takeout or sugar-loaded. Cereal straight from the box. She would leave cups, plates and wrappers around the house like a trail of forgotten promises. The floor would remain unswept for days. The plants Daniel loved, gifts from his late grandmother, wilted one by one. Dust layered over furniture, like a slow-moving fog, and still Lena remained untouched by guilt. To her, the home was just a backdrop for her personal comfort. Cleaning was beneath her. Managing a home? That was a fairy tale women sold to men. In her world, pretending was enough. Sometimes she would get up and make a mess in the kitchen just before Daniel returned. Burnt toast in the bin, flour sprinkled on the counter, a half-stirred pot of soup. Props to maintain the illusion of effort. She had learned quickly that men, especially good men like Daniel, didn't look too closely if they trusted you. And Daniel, blinded by the love he so freely gave, saw only what he wanted to see. At work, Daniel often bragged about Lena. He spoke of how she kept the home running smoothly, how she supported his career by giving him peace at home, how lucky he was to have a wife who made coming home the best part of his day. His co-workers envied him, some even mocked his romanticism. But Daniel stood by his vision. He refused to believe anything less. After all, love was about trust, wasn't it? Months passed. Seasons changed. But inside the Morris household, time stood still. The same cluttered shelves, the same untouched laundry, the same dull curtains that never moved. Daniel was too emotionally invested to notice that his home was no longer alive. It was stagnating. One evening, Daniel arrived home a little early. He had a mild fever and decided to surprise Lena. He quietly let himself in and was struck by the stillness. The house was dark. No aroma of dinner, no music, no welcome. Just silence. He walked to the living room and stopped cold. There she was, Lena, lying across the couch in a worn-out t-shirt and joggers, a bag of chips on her belly, one hand lazily scrolling through her phone. The coffee table was littered with takeout boxes, makeup brushes, a half-eaten cake, and a moldy glass of juice. The room smelled like staleness and neglect. His heart sank. She didn't even notice him until he accidentally kicked over a shoe lying on the floor. She jumped startled, then flashed a guilty smile, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Oh, you're home early." Daniel didn't speak. His eyes scanned the room, every lie she had told him now manifest in physical form. He stepped back, slowly, as if he were in a dream he wanted to wake up from. His heart pounded in disbelief. This wasn't a slip-up. This was a pattern. This was her real life, unaccurated, unapologetic. That night he sat on the edge of their bed while Lena showered and tried to act normal. The steam from the bathroom filled the silence, but Daniel's mind was racing. Was everything he had believed in a lie? Had he built a life on trust while she built hers on convenience? He didn't sleep. Instead, he stayed up thinking about the last few months. Every excuse, every missed detail, every overlooked clue. Suddenly, everything made sense. The missing receipts. The unexplained mood swings. The lack of warmth in their once shared moments. Lena hadn't been tired. She had been uninterested. She had chosen ease over effort, illusion over intimacy. And Daniel? He had been nothing more than a background character in the play she performed when required. He remembered something his grandmother once told him. A home doesn't need gold to shine. It needs care. And care always reveals itself, whether in the corner of a clean room or the warmth of a meal. Now sitting in that cold, neglected house, Daniel realized the warmth had long since left. He just hadn't noticed until now. Daniel woke up early the next morning, not because of the sun filtering through the blinds, but because of the silence that had settled in his chest like cold lead. He lay on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling, his body still but his, mind spinning like a machine that refused to shut down. Lena was still asleep beside him, her breath soft and steady, unaware of the emotional storm she had stirred in the man who had once seen her as his safe place. Daniel slowly got up, walked toward the kitchen and stared at the sink. It overflowed with crusted plates, old spoons, a broken mug with lipstick stains that had been there for days. He touched the surface of the counter. It was sticky, cold. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a neglected body, and its fading heartbeat. Coffee didn't taste like it used to. He couldn't force a sip down his throat. The moment replayed in his head, the image of Lena, lifeless on the couch, surrounded by clutter, with not a single care in the world. It wasn't the mess that hurt him most. It was the betrayal of trust, of expectation, of the dreams he had built for them both. A part of him wanted to believe she was simply going through a phase, that maybe something deeper was hurting her. But the deeper part of him, the one with scars now awakened, knew this wasn't temporary. It was who she was, not a struggling wife, but a disinterested partner. Later that morning, Lena woke up, casually walking into the kitchen while stretching, as if nothing had happened. Her smile was lazy, her words unbothered. "You're up early," she said, tying her hair up. Daniel didn't respond. She opened the fridge, took out a bottle of juice, and started drinking directly from it. That was it. Something cracked inside him. Not because of the juice, but because of the sheer normalcy of it all. like she had no clue how far she'd drifted, like she hadn't let the home rot while pretending to be the perfect wife. Daniel finally spoke, his voice low, but steady. "Lena, what do you do all day when I'm gone?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "Exactly what I asked. I want you to tell me. Walk me through a typical day in your life when I'm at work." She smirked, brushing it off. "I rest, clean, catch up on shows. What's this? An interrogation?" He looked at her long and hard. "I came home early yesterday." Her face dropped for the first time. So I saw everything. The dishes, the trash, you, lying on the couch, not a single thing done. You told me you cleaned. You told me you were cooking. You told me you were trying. Silence. It pressed into the walls, into the corners of the room like a ghost finally named. Lena rolled her eyes and turned away. "I'm not your maid, Daniel. I'm your wife. If you wanted a housekeeper, you should have hired one." That sentence landed like a slap across his soul. Not because of what it said, but because of what it revealed. All this time, Daniel had thought Lena believed in the same kind of life he did. In sharing, in effort, in building something together. But now, he saw the truth. She never wanted that. She wanted comfort. A home she didn't have to maintain. A man she didn't have to support. A life she could live selfishly, hidden behind the idea of marriage. Daniel took a deep breath and walked toward the living room. He picked up the takeout boxes, the wrappers, the leftover chips, and dropped them into a trash bag. One by one. Slowly. Not for her, but for himself. He wasn't cleaning the house. He was reclaiming his clarity. Lena stood in the hallway, arms crossed, watching him like a stranger. "What are you doing?" she asked sharply. "I'm cleaning up the version of you I believed in," he replied. That hit her. Her mouth parted slightly, but no words came. Daniel looked around and noticed something else. Lena hadn't even framed any pictures of them together. The walls were bare. No photo from their wedding, no mementos, no warmth, just blankness. He opened the closet. Piles of her shopping bags, unopened packages, expensive shoes worn only once. She had spent so much, consumed so much, yet given so little. That night, Daniel slept on the couch, not out of anger but clarity. He needed space to think, to breathe. The next morning, Lena cooked breakfast for the first time in weeks. Pancakes, eggs, toast, all laid out nicely. "I thought we could start over," she said. Daniel didn't sit. He looked at the table, then at her. "It's not the food, Lena. It's never been about breakfast." She didn't respond. She just stared at the table like a child caught cheating on a test. "I loved you," he continued, "because I thought we both believed in building a home. I thought you'd take care of it the way I tried to take care of you. But you didn't build anything, Lena. You just moved in." Her eyes welled up. "I didn't ask you to make me your fantasy. Maybe I'm not that woman." "No, you're not. But you pretended to be." That cut through the final layer. She looked away. Daniel left the room. For the next few days, the house became two halves. His side clean and tense, hers untouched, and echoing denial. They barely spoke. Lena occasionally tried to act normal, folding clothes, vacuuming, pretending, but it was too late. Effort born out of guilt never felt genuine. A week later, Daniel came home to find her suitcase packed. She stood by the door, ready to leave. "I need space," she said. "You already had it," Daniel replied. "You had space every single day while I worked and believed in a life you weren't living." She didn't argue. She just picked up her bag and left. No dramatic goodbye, no tears, just silence. And maybe in that moment, Daniel realized something deeper. Lena hadn't just failed as a wife. She had failed as a partner. A partner in effort, in honesty, in consistency. And sometimes that's all love needs to survive. Shared consistency. The absence of it. It's not laziness. It's abandonment. Wearing perfume. That night, Daniel sat in the living room alone. He looked around, still cluttered, still broken, but something felt lighter. The truth, no matter how heavy, always lifts. It doesn't fix everything, but it makes you see clearly. And Daniel finally saw the truth, not about Lena, but about himself. He had loved too blindly, trusted too quickly, and now he would heal, but with his eyes open. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more shocking life revelations. Only on The Other Side Story, where truth hits harder than fiction.